As we consider the many characteristics of our club, we ask ourselves what we are conveying to others that makes them want to be part of our organization. Oftentimes, that starts with looking at who our club represents. Do we need to consider making changes if we want to attract members of all ages? Does your club regularly recruit younger members only to have them drop out within the first year? Can you identify what your stumbling blocks are? These are just a few questions that can get us thinking about our next move. Let's start by looking at this simple Sertoma acronym, which demonstrates some of the tenets of strong membership. Does your club do the following? Service. What does this mean to your members? Find out and then do it. Encourage new and different ideas. The world is ever changing and your club should do its best to change with it. Reward enthusiasm and participation. People want to know that they're appreciated. Be the one to show total commitment. Lead by example and others will follow. Take advantage of opportunities that fall into your lap. Who knows what they'll bring for the future of your club? Mentorship. This is so important to fostering strong leadership in your club for many years to come. And finally, applause. Make sure you are recognizing your members at every opportunity, both internally and externally to the public. Before we start to talk about how we can reach and collaborate with different generations, we must first recognize that there are differences between them that extend beyond just age. Keep in mind, this isn't a bad thing. In fact, it provides us with more of a chance than ever before to make our clubs truly look like the communities that we serve. Diverse voices are a prime opportunity to come up with new ideas and programs to expand our club's reach. Born before 1945, traditionalists, also known as the silent generation, are known for their loyalty and discipline. Baby boomers have long been characterized as innovative and hardworking. The much smaller Gen X is made up of independent free agents, while millennials like diversity, immediacy, and social engagement. Finally, our youngest generation, typically known as Generation Z, is even more highly engaged, optimistic, and expectant. One thing to note here, the years that define these generations can vary depending on your source, so don't hold them too steadfastly. Instead, let them just be a general rule of thumb. In order to recruit and engage new members, you first have to be able to reach them. We've all heard our members, membership committees, and boards say that they want to reach younger audiences, but too few of us are doing the things necessary to reach diverse audiences. We can't just stick with doing the same things we've always done, maybe an annual mailing or monthly email. Those things are good resources to have in your toolbox, but they shouldn't be the only ones. Your most successful clubs are going to present the same message in multiple formats to ensure that they are reaching all demographics. Here's a quick example. Let's say you have an important policy change. Your older generations, like the traditionalists and boomers, might prefer to hear it personally from a board member through a phone call. However, Generation X and millennials may pay more attention if it's announced on Facebook or through an email. Short videos can also be a great way to reach millennials and Generation Z. Of course, this is a broad generalization, but it still gets to the heart of the matter. We can't communicate our message in too many places or too many times. So let's look at each generation just a little deeper. Traditionalists are going to be exactly that, your most traditional media users. They will read your printed communications more thoroughly than other generations, so using action-oriented language is sure to get their attention. One tipping point, however, is length. You'll want to watch your word count. Baby boomers, on the other hand, are all about options. They like to have things laid out in categories so that they can look at the most basic facts and make their decisions to act, join, buy, whatever. They often resist change, demand instant results, and love to be recognized. Taglines like "We need you" or "You are important to our club's success" can be really effective with this demographic. Word of mouth can also be a great tool when it comes from trusted friends and advisors. Gen X may be your hardest demo to reach, so you'll want to keep your updates more constant with this group. They love to give feedback and to be used in sort of a consulting role. Multi-channel communications with short, concise pieces works best here, so email, social media, websites, and even peer gatherings are all great tools. The often discussed millennials thrive in community settings. They want to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. Millennials also appreciate honesty, humor, and individualism, so any messages emphasizing these qualities are typically a great fit. This is especially true when it's delivered alongside images and in more technologically based mediums. And finally, Generation Z is used to information coming to them from all angles and at all times. It is because of this overwhelming communication flow that they seek out the most authentic messages. They also expect to be able to get answers and perform actions immediately. Online communities thrive with this demo, so virtual networking and social media sites are especially popular with the youngest generation. Now that we've looked at the 5 generations of potential members and how to communicate with them, let's talk about how to actually reach, involve, and engage them, starting with some common sense tips. Respect everyone. This may seem like a no-brainer, and yet we've all witnessed conversations where younger people are dismissed because of their age, or older people are seen as irrelevant. Since we all know that neither are true, it's important to respect everyone's opinions, ideas, and time. This is also a great time to ditch the stereotypes. They're nothing more than outdated assumptions that can really hinder your club's success. Be inclusive. There should be a seat at the Sertoma table for everyone. Make sure that you have programs, events, and volunteer opportunities that embrace this mentality. Otherwise, you'll have members with no place to belong. It's important to welcome change, but it's also important to uphold appropriate traditions. While finding the right balance can be tricky at times, it's a critical part of the inclusivity we just talked about. So what are some of the things your club should be doing now? One of the first things your club can do is build your online presence. This is going to be an ever-changing process as technology continues to evolve. However, having a strong online community that includes members of all ages is a great way to foster communication and collaboration in your club. It may come in the form of an active Facebook page or group, or continuous engagement on Instagram and Twitter using club hashtags. Encourage your members to participate in threads. Asking them to share photos and videos, especially after you've shared one of your own, is always a popular way to engage. People love to see themselves and each other. Make sure to check out Sertoma's Member Corner to see some of these ideas in action. The URL is there on your screen. The key to keep in mind here is that you want to make sure that you are keeping things current and fresh. You can find some great tips for getting started in our social media webinar in the training library at members.sertoma.org. Next, find out what they really need and want. You can do this in a few different ways. Survey your members. Put together a member survey about your current offerings, volunteer roles, programs, and events. Make sure to include a question about age so that you can dissect your results by generation. This will give you some idea of what is appealing to different groups and can help you better frame your membership messaging. Hold a focus group after a club meeting and ask a few simple questions to help foster discussion. Just make sure that a diverse cross-section is included so that your membership is truly represented. Another great way to find out is to simply ask. This can play into what we talked about earlier with building your online presence. Ask questions on Facebook to encourage feedback when you are considering reworking programs or looking to update an event. Finally, if you use a more complex email program like MailChimp or Constant Contact, look at what links your members are clicking. The same is true for your website. This tells you what is drawing interest from your members. Multi-generational leadership. This one can be a little harder to achieve, but when successful, is widely acknowledged as a key to building generationally diverse memberships. Now, we know that some clubs have limited leadership options, but it doesn't hurt to set goals with a more representative leadership in mind. This starts with getting members of all ages involved in volunteering at events and on committees. Once they have a taste of involvement, it's much easier to get them thinking about committee chair and board roles. This path should help inform your leadership recruiting strategy. Having that multi-generational leadership in place brings us to our next point. Strategic planning and decision-making should be made with all generations in mind. While older generations may make up your membership base today, they will not be around forever. That's why it's so important to consider members of all ages in the choices your leadership makes. You want to make sure that your decisions are sustainable and attractive for your younger generations. Conversely, if you only let your younger members make choices, you can alienate your base of longtime members and supporters. Making sure that everyone has a seat at the table and that all voices are heard is essential to making sure your club is thriving today and for many years to come. Our last tip is to ask for referrals. One thing all generations have in common is the need to connect to their peers. For our oldest generation, that comes in the form of traditional word of mouth. Generation X prefers in-person peer gatherings. Millennials love to feel like they're united as part of something bigger, and Gen Z tends to gather in online communities. In each of these instances, there's an opportunity to influence others by inviting them to events, talking about service projects your club does, and to share a personal passion for Sertoma. Encourage your members to make referrals when and where they can. And when they do, make sure to uphold your end of the bargain by following up with potential members if asked. Pro tip: referrals work best when there is an incentive. What can your club offer to top recruiters? Maybe it's free meals for a year, a gift card, or even a trip to a regional or national convention. Recruiters should also be recognized. Thank them at club meetings, on social media, and in club communications. You might even consider adding an award like Recruiter of the Year to give out at your annual banquet. As we wrap things up, remember that while we must acknowledge that there are differences between the generations, they are not unsurmountable. There are many ways we can reach across generational lines to attract, engage, and involve members of all ages. This includes knowing how to communicate with each group, building and adapting your online presence, asking your members what they need and want, fostering multi-generational leadership, making decisions that represent all age demographics, and asking for referrals. This concludes today's session. Sertoma is here to help your club be successful. You can find additional trainings and resources in the Sertoma Member Center at members.sertoma.org. We also encourage you to join the conversation on Sertoma's Member Corner on Facebook to get additional helpful hints from Sertoma staff and your fellow members.